The payload capacity of fifth-generation fighters has always been a hot topic among military enthusiasts. In February 2025, a photo instantly went viral across military fan communities. The J-20's wings were densely packed with missiles, and even its internal bays were stuffed to the brim, carrying a total of 14 to 16 air-to-air missiles at once. Looking at this image, we couldn't help but joke, is this even a stealth fighter? It's clearly just a missile truck flying in the sky. When it comes to fifth-generation fighters, payload capacity directly determines a fighter's combat effectiveness in the air. The J-20 has a maximum takeoff weight of 37 tons and a maximum weapons payload of 11 tons. The Su-57 has a payload capacity of 10 tons, capable of carrying various types of missiles and air-guided bombs. When the F-35 activates beast mode, its maximum payload reaches approximately 9.9 tons. In this three-way showdown, the J-20 firmly holds the top spot with its 11-ton capacity. But looking at tonnage alone isn't detailed enough. The US F-35, while appearing high-tech and flashy at first glance, actually suffers from the problem of having big ambitions but a small capacity. Its internal weapons bay can only hold 4 AIM-120 advanced medium-range air-to-air missiles, meaning it must return to base after firing just one round while in stealth mode. To use an analogy, it's like being given only a small plate at a buffet. Future upgrades may allow for 6 AIM-120s, but this entirely depends on new breakthroughs in missile technology, a process that could take years. More troubling is that the F-35 has suffered from heart problems since its initial design phase. Modifications and upgrades have been repeatedly delayed, and the slow delivery schedule has driven the Pentagon to distraction, creating an awkward situation where aircraft exist but lack engines, a predicament that has persisted for years. At the Indian Air Show in early 2025, the F-35 and Su-57 made a rare joint appearance. The Americans, of course, hyped it up, but the underlying issues with supersonic performance remain. Foreign media have long pointed out that the F-35 cannot sustain supersonic flight for extended periods. To use a metaphor, it's like a student who passes every subject but excels in none. Turning to Russia's Su-57, this aircraft embodies the quintessential Moscow-style aesthetic of brute force. It is equipped with 4 weapon bays, 2 of which are main bays designed to carry larger air-to-air weapons, with a total payload of up to 4.2 tons, twice that of the F-22 and F-35. The Russians have plenty to brag about with this feature alone. However, stealth capability has always been a weak point. Leaked Su-57 patent documents reveal that its frontal or CS is approximately 0.1 to 1 square meters, whereas the F-22's is 0.01 and the F-35's is 0.05. The gap is obvious. In other words, if the Su-57 were to enter combat, it would likely appear on radar like a giant light bulb. Still, the Russians haven't been idle. On February 16, 2025, reports indicated that the Su-57 would be exported to Algeria, with Algerian pilots already undergoing training in Russia. By the end of the year, a Su-57, equipped with a 5th-generation engine, completed its maiden flight, featuring increased thrust and reduced fuel consumption, with expectations of improved supersonic cruise capabilities. When it comes to engine technology, Russia truly commands respect. The main attraction is the J-20. Why can it carry 11 tons of ordnance? First, we must look at its dimensions. With a total length of 21.2 meters, it exceeds the Su-57's 20.1 meters and the F-22's 18.92 meters, making it the world's largest 5th-generation heavy fighter currently in service. A larger frame naturally means more internal storage capacity. The designers were also clever. The J-20's length to wingspan ratio is nearly 20% higher than that of the Su-57 and F-22, giving the aircraft a slender appearance. The benefits of this design are threefold. First, it reduces supersonic wave drag. Second, it improves aerodynamic efficiency. And third, it increases space for munitions and fuel. In other words, it's long, it has a big belly, and it can still fly fast. The specific loading configuration is also ingenious. The main weapons bay can hold 4 to 6 PL-15 medium to long-range air-to-air missiles, while the side bays accommodate 2 PL-10 close-range dogfight missiles. With 6 to 8 missiles in stealth mode, it has more than enough firepower for air superiority missions. And when the mission demands even greater firepower, the J-20 can switch to a beast mode that even the US military finds alarming. Photos released in February 2025 showed the J-20 carrying 8 air-to-air missiles on its wing pylons, combined with 6 to 8 in its internal bays, for a total of 14 to 16 missiles. setting an unprecedented record. This photo quickly made headlines on the US Warzone website. Observers speculate that in beast mode, the J-20 may also carry PL-17 missiles, which have a range of 500 kilometers, sufficient to threaten enemy refueling and early warning aircraft. A 500-kilometer range is equivalent to the straight-line distance between Shanghai and Nanjing. The enemy would have to evacuate immediately without even having time to identify the target. What makes the US military even more uneasy is that the PL-15 missile, which is already in service, is equally formidable. This missile prompted the US to launch the AIM-260 development program, and the Pentagon has acknowledged that its range is too great, placing most of the U.S. military's forward-deployed air assets within striking distance. The fact that a single Chinese missile has forced the U.S. to redesign a new model speaks volumes. Some may ask, with the J-20's large payload capacity and long-range missiles, can production keep up? The answer is absolutely, and production is accelerating. Foreign media reports indicate that the number of J-20s in service has exceeded 300, making it the most widely deployed fifth-generation heavy fighter in the world. On January 31, 2026, AVIC Chengdu Aircraft Industry Group made a rare public release of footage, showing multiple unpainted J-20s in flight, revealing that the aircraft had completed systematic flight testing across 5 locations and 10 variants, including research and acceptance trials. Unpainted refers to newly rolled off the assembly line aircraft that have not yet been painted. CIG's simultaneous release of multiple unpainted J-20s signifies that production capacity has reached full capacity. By comparison, global production of the F-35 has exceeded 1,000 units, while the Su-57 has seen only about a dozen enter service due to development and funding issues. The J-20, however, has forged a path that balances both quality and speed. The evolution of the J-20 is not merely about carrying more missiles. The two-seat variant of the J-20, unveiled at the 2024 Zhuhai Air Show, demonstrated a new tactical approach for fifth-generation fighters to the world. According to CCTV's analysis, the rear seat pilot handles some early warning functions and coordinates missions with drone formations, effectively transforming the fighter jet into an airborne command center. On September 3, 2025, during the military parade commemorating the 80th anniversary of the victory in the War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War, a formation of J-20s flew over Tiananmen Square that same month, as the remains of the 12th group of martyrs from the Chinese People's Volunteer Army in Korea were repatriated. 4 J-20s escorted the Y-20 transport aircraft with a triumph formation. Witnessing the scene, many were moved to tears. 75 years ago, the Volunteer Army used their flesh and blood to block the enemy. 75 years later, the Triumph Formation, named in their honor, escorted the heroes home with the world's top-tier fighter jets. Payload capacity is merely a cold statistic, but behind it lies the nation's confidence. From its maiden flight in 2011 to today, with over 300 aircraft in service, an 11-ton payload, ultra-long-range missiles with a 500-kilometer range, and a two-seat unmanned wingman command platform, in less than 15 years, China's aviation industry has covered the ground that took the West decades to traverse. A technological gap that once spanned over 30 years has been narrowed to 12 years, and in some areas, China has already overtaken the West. The F-35 carries 9 tons of payload, the Su-57 carries 10 tons, and the J-20 carries 11 tons. On paper, the J-20 carries 1 or 2 tons more, but what truly gives opponents headaches is the detect and destroy combat system behind the J-20. The J-20 breaks through with stealth, the J-16 follows up with firepower, the KJ-500 provides airborne command, and two-seat J-20s lead drone swarms in assault. Who would dare to underestimate this combination of tactics? Air combat has never been merely a contest of specifications. The F-35 boasts cutting-edge avionics, while the Su-57 offers fierce maneuverability. Each has its own strengths. But one thing is clear: the Chinese Air Force, which once looked up to Western fifth-generation fighters, now stands at the pinnacle of the same skies. And beneath these skies, there is far too much worth protecting.